Welcome back to our HTML for Beginners series. In the last lesson, we set up our workspace with Visual Studio Code Editor, and in this lesson, we'll create your very first web page and we'll add text, images and links to it. But before we do, let me show you a couple of useful extensions that you can install inside Visual Studio Code to make your code faster. To install an extension, you need to go into the Extensions tab in the Visual Studio Code. The first extension is called Live Server. So search for Live Server in the Extensions tab and you will find this extension, which is already installed for me, so just click on the install button here. This makes it super easy to test your website as you're building it without having to refresh the browser every time you make a change there. And the second extension is called Auto Close Tag. As the name suggests, this extension automatically closes the HTML tags when you write them, so install this extension as well. Now let's create a new folder for this lesson. You can name it anything you want. I will name this lesson too, and drag and drop this folder into the Visual Studio Code. So we need to create a new HTML file inside of this folder. Let's name it index.html. All HTML files start with the same basic structure. We can either write that same structure every time we create a new HTML file, or there is an easier way to it. You can just write exclamation mark, and as you can see, Visual Studio Code suggests to write the same basic structure for us. Click enter, and as you can see, it is already populated with the basic structure and we don't need to write this every time we create a new file. Now there are some tags which we are not familiar with yet, but don't worry about it. As you can see, it's the same HTML tag and head and body tags inside of it. One question that you might have is why some of the tags are not on the same level as others. This doesn't make any difference for the browser. Either these and these are the same for the browser and it will render the same thing. This is just for us, for developers, to understand which tags are inside of which tags. So whenever we include some tag inside of the other tag, we usually hit the tab key before adding it, so that we know that this is inside of the other tag. Now let's save this file and make sure that it opens in the browser. Now we can use the other extension that we installed, the Live Server, by right clicking on this index.html file, and you will see an option open with Live Server. If you click on this will open up the HTML file inside of the browser, and next time whenever we change anything in this HTML file, we don't have to update or refresh the browser. It will automatically be updated there. So now let's start adding text and images to this blank page. The first tag we are going to add is headings. Headings are used to add structure to the content, with larger headings indicating main sections and smaller headings indicating subsections. And this website, which I will be referencing in this video, is the official documentation for HTML tags, and all of the HTML tags are listed here. You don't need to learn all of them. In fact, most of them are not used when building typical web applications, so don't worry about the quantity of them. We will go through the main ones in these lessons. Let's add heading 1 into our HTML file. Let's type h1, and you see that the closing tag was automatically applied. This is by the other extension which we installed. It automatically closes tags for us, so we don't have to write them anytime we change or add tags into our code. Now we need to just add some content inside of this heading 1. Let's save this file and go back to our browser, and we can see our heading, and it has been automatically applied without needing to refresh this browser by the Live Server extension. Let's also add some subsections. For example, you can create a heading 2, write the content of it. If you save this and go back to the browser, we will see that we have two other headings which are smaller in size than the heading 1. They are subsections of this web page. The next tag that we will look at is paragraph tag. Paragraphs are used to group together related sentences. It's very much like heading tag, but it's a smaller font size and it's not a heading of a page. Let's create a paragraph tag and add the content inside of it. If we go back, we will see our paragraph here. As you can see, it is smaller in font size and it is not bold like the other ones. But what if we want to highlight some word and we want to make it bold? For example, this important word, we want to make it bold so it stands out in this paragraph. For that, we have HTML formatting elements, and for this case, if we want to make this important bold, we will use the strong tag. We will wrap this important word inside of this strong tag. And if we go back, you can see that important is in the bold, whereas the other text is normal. There are other formatting elements as well. For example, you can make this second subsection italic. For that, we have the emphasis tag. We will wrap this text inside of the emphasis tag. And if we go back, we will see that this subsection is now in italic format. What if we want to point to some other website from our web page? We need to use hyperlinks. Hyperlinks or links are elements in HTML that allow you to create clickable references to other web pages. To create a hyperlink, we use the anchor element and we specify the href attribute on it so that it knows which website it is pointing to, and we add the content inside of it. Let's use this anchor element in our web page. Under the second subsection, let's add an anchor tag. Content will be these points to another web page, and we need to add the href attribute, otherwise it doesn't know where it is pointing to. And here you need to pass any URL that you want this link to point to. In our case, let's just reference to the anchor tags documentation. Save the file and go back to our web page. You can see this is our anchor tag. This is a hyperlink, and if we click on this, it will bring us to the documentation of anchor tag or wherever you specify it to point to. We can also add images to our HTML page by using the image tag. Image tag is one of the self-closing tags and doesn't require a closing tag. There are two main attributes on image tag. The first one is source, which specifies where is the image that we need to display on our web page. And the second one is the alt attribute. This specifies what text needs to be shown in case this image is not found on our web page. Let's add an image tag to our HTML file. We will add the image tag and close it. As you can see, our auto close tag doesn't add the closing tag because images are self-closing. And we need to add the source attribute first. For this, you need to reference to some image. It can be either on internet or it can be somewhere in this folder. Let's just copy some image from internet. For example, this image, you can right click on it and copy the image address. This will give you the source attribute, which you can place here. And let's also add the alt attribute, which will specify what text is shown in case this image is not found. Save it and go back to the browser. And you can see we have this image tag here. We don't see the alt attribute because it is found. But if you make some typo in it, for example, add some text which doesn't exist in this URL, now we can see the alt attribute, which says that it couldn't find an image, so that's why it's rendering the alt attribute here. Let's bring our source attribute back, which is working. Now if we want to move this image into a new line so that it doesn't look so ugly, we can use the break tag. Before image, we can add a break tag, and it is also self-closing, so we don't need the closing tag for it. And save the file. Now it's on a new line and looks a bit better than previously. That's it for this lesson, where we have built our first web page using HTML. In the next video, we'll dive into HTML lists and tables and add them to our existing web page. Make sure to subscribe and see you next time.